So let me share with you 3 easy steps for overcoming the fear of public speaking. Hi, my name's Colin Boyd. I've been speaking and coaching for about 15 years now. I've got about 10,000 clients worldwide, and I'm in kind of a unique position where I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And in this video, I want to share with you how you can overcome your fear of public speaking, because for me, I used to shake so bad. And so let's fix that for you. I'll never forget stepping on stage and picking up the microphone and looking out in front of my audience. And as I'm starting to do my presentation, I notice my hand shaking. Have you ever noticed that? You're literally speaking in front of an audience and I'm holding the microphone, my hand started to shake like that. And I'm looking out, like engaging with the audience, trying to do a speech, right? But my hand starts shaking like this. And so I'm thinking, okay, how do I stop it from shaking? Well, I thought if I just grab it with my other hand and kind of like just hold onto the mic harder, and then I start going like this and like my whole body's shaking, and then I managed to get my hand to stop shaking a bit. And then what happened was my knee started shaking like that, and I'm just completely freaking out. I'm looking out in front of the audience, trying to engage with them, but it was literally like my entire world was just shrinking in on me. And I got through that, it was about a 5-minute presentation, and I stepped off stage and I sat down. It felt like 50 minutes. And I said to one of my good friends next to me who was on the front row, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that was so bad. Did you see me shaking?" And he was like, "No, I didn't see you shaking at all." Now that was a really interesting insight for me, was that so often we are so hypersensitive about what is happening in ourselves and in our bodies when we're public speaking. And that insight alone helped me to realize that, wow, if I can get my focus off myself and get it onto just serving the audience, I'm going to start to feel better. So here's the first insight you must have when it comes to getting over your fear of public speaking. Number 1 is you need to make a shift to service. Now, you probably have noticed this when you've spoken before, maybe at a business presentation, maybe you've spoken at a networking event, or maybe even at school if you remember. But about a minute into the presentation, maybe 2 or 3 minutes into the presentation, you notice yourself make a shift where you stop focusing on what you're trying to say and you start actually teaching the thing you're trying to teach. And all of a sudden, mentally, you have this focus of it goes off you and it goes onto the audience. It goes onto the service. And when you do this, there is something magical that happens in your brain and in your emotions. And so to stand in confidence when you speak, you must shift your focus from yourself and into service. Now, one good way of doing that is just thinking about what are the problems and the challenges that your audience is facing? Like imagine maybe you've got a webinar coming up where you're doing like a virtual presentation. And for me, I serve coaches and course creators and I help them to design presentations and stories that sell. And when I'm thinking about if I've got a big presentation coming up, maybe I've got 1,000 people signed up or 5,000 people signed up, I think about what is really going on in that person's life. Like I literally imagine them sitting at their desk, wherever they are in Idaho or in California or in Australia or wherever it is. And I think that about them sitting there at their desk, doing their work, feeling stuck in knowing how to grow their coaching business. And as soon as I start thinking about that and start considering the fact that they are real people with real problems and a real desire to make a difference in the world and to create freedom in their family, all of a sudden the intention of the presentation, the feeling around my speaking completely changes. And that's what I want you to do for yourself. When you think about your next virtual presentation or live presentation, stop focusing on how will my content sound and start thinking, how can I help these people go to the next level? So when you shift to service, everything changes. The second big thing that makes a big difference, especially when you are doing an in-person speaking engagement, is to meet and greet the people. So what I mean by that is if you're coming to speak at an event Get there a little bit earlier and go and stand in the room. Go and meet a few people, like literally go up to people, shake their hand, introduce yourself, have a conversation with people. It's like meet and greet. Now, that may seem very simple, but there's something that happens in your brain when you start to meet and greet people and hear about their story, why they came, all that sort of stuff. It actually is, it's kind of similar to the first point, but a little bit different from the sense of you're acclimatizing to realizing that these people are just normal people. Like they're real people, once again, like they've got problems, they've got challenges, they're here to make a difference. They probably want to grow in their life. But that sense of like meeting people in a physical connection, what happens is when you get on stage, especially if it's on a live stage, you feel a deeper connection with them. And one of the secrets to speaking well is realizing that your speech is not a speech, it's a conversation. And so when you shift from thinking, okay, I have to do a professional speech, to going, I'm having a conversation with these people, all of a sudden your mindset, your thinking, your connection level changes completely. And so the second big thing that can make a huge difference is if you're in person, meet and greet them, say hello to them. Now, if you're doing this virtually, what you can do is you can ask people to put in the comments, like before you actually start your presentation, you just ask them, hey, can you put in the comment, where are you calling in from? What is the weather like? Why did you show up today? And people are going to start writing in all of that stuff, and then you can start interacting with people, and it creates like a connection with the audience. It also shifts the energy from everyone being focused on you to them actually engaging with you and making a conversation. And so this second point of like meet and greet, of create that authentic connection with people, can make a huge difference with just calming your neurological system when it comes to speaking and actually connecting with your audience. The third big idea with overcoming the fear of public speaking is deciding that you are valuable, that you have something to add. In other words, you declare your value. I remember, especially early on in my speaking career, I would go to an event. I remember there was a specific event that I was speaking for Coca-Cola, and it was one of their kind of main networking events. They were at a resort, so I flew into the resort, came in, and there was about 300 or 400 people at the networking event, and I had to like introduce the event. I had to connect people. I had to do a short presentation, and then kind of just lift the vibe and get everyone to enjoy the night. I remember being so nervous. I was telling myself, I was like, oh my gosh, this is Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola, it's sugar water, right? I'm telling myself, oh my gosh, this is like the biggest brand in the world. And I'm getting myself worked up to a point where I'm just freaking myself out. And I remember going to the restroom. They call it the toilet in Australia, but basically go into the washroom, the restroom, and I went there, and I remember going into a cubicle and starting to speak to myself and starting to declare over myself like who I actually am. And so coming into your presentation, one important thing to do is to not just listen to yourself, is to speak to yourself. And I remember saying to myself things like, I would say to myself things like, I'm an incredible communicator. I wouldn't have got this opportunity if I wasn't already ready. I remember telling myself, when I get on stage, I freaking rock. Now, was all of this true? I don't know. But the truth is that because I started to declare that to myself, I started to think differently, energetically feel differently. And when you show up with a higher level energy in your communication, everything changes. And so I think like 70% of speaking is actually the energetic mindset that you're in when you come into it. So if you declare to yourself, you start speaking over yourself truths like, I'm an intelligent, proactive, enthusiastic individual. When I get on stage, I'm going to freaking rock. I'm here to serve people and help people and make a difference. I wouldn't have got this opportunity if I wasn't ready for it already. Like, just start declaring that over yourself. And when you start speaking that out, there's something that happens neurologically. Your energy lifts and you show up as the best version of yourself. So those are 3 ideas that you can use to help overcome your fear of public speaking. And if you're a coach or course creator, make sure you go and use them for your next virtual or your live presentation. Hey, if this has been valuable, make sure you subscribe. When you subscribe, it grows the channel, it helps me to bring more of this content to you, and it helps me to grow the audience so I can help more people just like you. And I'd love to know, after you subscribe, let me know in the comments, what's been most valuable from this conversation we've had today? I know it's been over video, but I want to know what's been most valuable, most useful from this conversation we've had today. Let me know in the chat which one of those 3 points stand out for you that you could use, and so I could interact with you moving forward. So we'll speak to you really soon.